Well, good morning and welcome to today's webinar, a new and very important topic, identity theft, the illusion of privacy, presented by Mr. Andre Lingham, founder and president of the Center for Elder Justice and Education. My name is Jeff Stauffer, Community Relations Director with Elville and Associates, and I'll be moderating today's event. To start, I'd like to mention this webinar is offered in partnership and with support from the Howard County Library System, a longtime supporter of Elville and Associates educational programs. We'd like to thank the library system for promoting some of our events and being a great resource to the communities that they serve. So how this will work today, if you're new to our webinars, if you are, welcome. We're glad you're here. And if you're a returning attendee, welcome back. So you as the attendee are in listen-only mode. However, if and when you have questions, please note them in the questions panel on the right-hand portion of your screen, and we will take all questions at the end of this morning's presentation. Your questions really help the presentation and add value. They help others learn, so please don't be shy in posing your questions at any time. Also, for our professionals on today's webinar, for CFPs, CPAs, and others, you may receive 1.5 continuing education hours for attending. So per my attendance records requirements, please email me your ID number if I don't have it already. And for CFPs only, I also must have the last 4 digits of your social security number as soon as possible so I can submit your CE hours for approval. Everyone will also receive a post-webinar feedback email right after the presentation. And we ask that you please just take a couple minutes to fill out this simple survey to offer us your feedback about the presentation. We do read and value every comment. Just for example, these last 2 presentations offered by Andre were requested through our post-webinar feedback, so we made arrangements to make this presentation a reality today and a couple weeks ago. So thank you for your feedback. And here at Elville & Associates, through planning and elder law techniques, our attorneys work every day with families and their loved ones with the ideals of client education, collaboration, and compassion in mind. We're always available for consultations to discuss your family's needs and look forward to being a resource to you in any way. So lastly, I have the true pleasure of introducing today's presenter, Mr. Andre Lingham. He is the founder and president for the Center of Elder Justice and Education, and the new website for the organization is www.elderjusticeandeducation.org. The Center of Elder Justice and Education was established in 2021 and is a nonprofit organization that promotes elder abuse awareness and education. Its mission is done by virtual and in-person training to senior citizens, the general public, government agencies, police departments, and private institutions. Andre previously served over 30 years in law enforcement and retired from the Howard County Police Department in 2019 to focus full-time on elder abuse awareness and education. While a member of the Howard County Police Department, he served as the Senior Citizen Liaison for 5 years. In 2014, Andre was named Howard County Police Officer of the Year and 2015 American Legion Law Enforcement Officer of the Year for his work educating and protecting seniors. Andre resides in Columbia and is a caregiver for his 86-year-old mother. So Andre, thank you for being here today. We appreciate your time and thank you for your service to our community. And I will turn it over to you.
Good morning, Jeff, and thanks for having me again. And
our pleasure.
Thank Elville and Associates for hosting this and helping me get the word out. So today we're going to look at ID theft, and we're going to cover quite a bit of information, the different types of ID theft out there, best ways to protect yourselves, especially in the digital age. So we're going to get started. Okay. What is identity theft? Basically, it occurs when someone uses another person's personal information to commit fraud or other crimes. And like I said, we're going to go over quite a bit of different types of identity theft and data breaches. So when you look at some of the current statistics, Maryland ranks 23 out of 50 in ID theft complaints in 2021. Actually, that number is lower. We originally was in the top 10%. So we've actually gotten somewhat better as far as rankings with the ID theft complaints. The age range of 60 to 69 group lost the most in fraud-induced expenses. So seniors are really carrying the brunt of the financial exploitation and ID theft. Unfortunately, 9 in 10 ID theft victims had no idea about the offender or how they got their information. Unfortunately, people active on social media are more likely to have their personal details stolen because, unfortunately, they tend to put more information easily accessible to the public. Fewer than 1 in 10 reported the incidents to police. What I recommend, if you are the victim of identity theft, please report it to the police so it is documented. So what information do they want? And I call this the big four: name, address, social security number, and birth date. Most of that, the information is easily accessible by public means, and we'll look at some of those ways also. Other information they like to get is driver's license number, bank account details, and also credit card information. What can they do? Basically, they can do anything that you do: open new accounts, apply for credit cards, utilities, government benefits is big, fraudulent tax returns, and unfortunately commit a crime and use your name. Here's a young lady in California that had her ID stolen, and someone used her name and committed a few crimes, and unfortunately she ended up spending some time in jail and was arrested several times. So here we go. Hey, Jeff?
Yeah.
For some reason, the video is not playing.
Okay.
Okay. There we go.
Okay.
Every time Stancy Nesby looks in the rearview mirror, she can't help but wonder if she's about to be pulled over.
Everybody needs to put themselves in my shoes and know that this could happen to them.
A 30-year-old single mom with 4 kids who holds 2 jobs working as a nurse's assistant, life was hard enough before her problems with police.
It's made it really hard for me to smile and be the normal person that I felt like I was at first.
It started 4 years ago when Stancy was pulled over for speeding in the Bay Area. She admitted going too fast, but couldn't understand why she was being arrested.
I ended up going to jail that day. They didn't believe anything I was saying.
It turned out Stancy had a warrant for her arrest. The police databases showed she'd been busted for cocaine possession here in San Francisco's seedy Tenderloin district back in 1999, but that she never showed up for court appearances. Stancy had to spend 3 days in jail. The problem, she was innocent.
Police later confirmed it when her fingerprints didn't match the real suspect who had used Stancy's name.
I've had nightmares about this.
She says police told her they'd fix the problem, but 2 months later, Stancy was arrested again, this time at her home in Berkeley. Once again, she says when the officers discovered the error, they told her they'd help her clear her name. But 3 months later, Stancy was arrested again in yet another jurisdiction.
And it didn't end there. From 2002 to 2004, Stancy was arrested or detained 7 times by 5 police departments. In one instance, hauled off right in front of her children.
Unfortunately, this happens far too often, and it basically initiated when someone stole her ID. What happens is when you're arrested the first time, whatever information that you give them, it kind of sticks with you through your whole criminal career, for lack of a better term. And unfortunately, they use all her personal information. So again, they just kept arresting her over and over and over for a crime that she didn't commit. The only way it was resolved is she actually had to file a lawsuit against all those agencies, and finally it was fixed. But you know, she was arrested numerous times for the crime. how do they get your personal information? A lot of times it's old-fashioned stealing. You know, a lot of homes still have the mailboxes at the end of the driveways. Several years ago, we had a group of thieves basically following postal carriers, and when they would deliver the mail, they would come behind them 5 minutes later and take the mail right out of the box. Stealing from purses. What I recommend is keep your personal information to a minimum in your purse. That way, if it's stolen, they have the least amount of information on you as possible. Breaking into cars. We've had incidents in Howard counties at some of the local parks where thieves, while you're out exercising, will break into your car and steal your personal items. Here's a couple of videos of sort of day-to-day things that we run into that actually shows thieves stealing wallets and personal property.
A woman was shopping and her purse was sitting in the top of the grocery cart. When she goes to get something out of the freezer, well, that's when the thief struck. He reached into the purse and stole her wallet. Deputies say he then walked away and out of the store. If you know who this man is, you are asked to call Spartanburg Public Safety.
This is called sliders, and it shows a young lady getting gas, and a car will pull up to her right and actually open the door and steal her purse without her even realizing that it's happening. One of the things I suggest is if you do have a wallet or purse, if you're going to leave it in the car, put it in the driver's side floorboard. And also, you can lock the passenger door. It's amazing. She had no idea that her purse was stolen. Here's another one, and I'm not sure which establishment it was, but you can see these are the two suspects as they walk in. And if you look in the highlighted area, you'll see a purse sitting in a chair. And I guess one of the owners of the purse is facing it, actually. So the thief will throw her jacket over the purse. And then you can see her reaching in, grabbing a wallet. She grabs a wallet. They get up and leave, and the victim has no idea that her wallet was taken. And those are just several videos of things that we kind of do on a daily basis, but just to make you aware that how easy it can happen. Some other ways is spyware hacking. That's when a thief either remotely hacks into your computer, or you get a pop-up ad or message allowing them to have access to your computer. Unfortunately, once you give them access, whatever information is on that computer, they can access or transfer or do whatever they want to do with it. This is called phishing. It's a phishing email. And typically they look like they come from a legitimate company. In this instance, it's PayPal. And what they'll do is send an email out requesting that you update your current information, that your service agreement will, be nullified, and unless you update all your personal information within 72 hours. Again, any email that you get looking like it's from a legitimate company that want personal information or passwords or details, please ignore it. One of the things you can look at that will kind of tip you off that it's fraudulent is if you look at where it comes from, the email address. It's paypal.co.uk. Again, just ignore these emails. Here's one that another phishing email that took got a lot of victims. Looks like it comes from the IRS. It looks like a legitimate IRS logo. And the email will basically say that you are owed X amount of dollars from the IRS. And in order to access that, they'll want all your personal information and your bank account information. And you see at the bottom there, it says get started. So you would click on that and then put all your personal information in there. Again, once they have it, they have it. You look at where it comes from. It says IRS online, AHR at IRXT. Again, if you do any money from the IRS, they will typically just refund the money and send you a notice. Social networks and blogs. More and more seniors on Facebook now and different social media platforms. Please be careful what you put on any social media outlet. And if your profile is open where anyone can access it, please be careful. There are people that will troll different social media sites looking for accounts that are open where they can just easily access them. I'm on Facebook, and I know every morning I get a list of whose birthday it is at current day, and typically it's their birthday and their age. So if I know their name, address, and on social media it gives me their birthday, that's 3 of the big 4 that I need that I can start victimizing citizens. Just remember, once your information is out there, it's out there and anyone will have access to it. Telephone, and this is basic, and a lot of times this would stop a lot of frauds and thefts and ID theft, is just don't give out any personal information over the phone from a call that you didn't initiate. Several years ago, I got a call from USAA where they wanted me to update my personal information to include in the car that I had, the insurance. I immediately stopped them and said, hey, I don't discuss any personal information over the phone. I will call the 800 number and speak with someone. And if it is in fact true that you need this information, then I will provide that. And that's what I did. But I was not going to give them my personal information over the phone. Now we're going to talk about skimming. Basically, skimming is taking information from your credit card, downloading it, and possibly putting it on another card, recreating it. A lot of skimming happened with ATM machines. So where you put your card in, they would place what's called an overlay over the place where you put your card in. So as you putting your card in and pulling it out, it's capturing all that information on your card. And all credit cards have a black magnetic strip on the back. That's where all the information is contained. So the name on the front, the expiration date and all that is fine, but that's just for you. The main information is on the back. So what would happen is you put your card in, pull it out, and it would capture that. If you notice the past several years, most ATM machines have a barrier around the numbers where you kind of have to put your hand in. They did that because the thieves were placing a camera overhead. So you'd put your card and pull it out, they capture the information, and they would also capture you putting your PIN number in. They recreate a new card and they have the PIN number, and then they could drain your account. A skimmer is as small as shown on the screen here. Here's a skimmer incident in Florida, and then we'll go into a little more information about skimmers.
When it comes to gas station credit card skimmers, it feels like at least once a week we give you an alert about a new one found somewhere in Florida.
Yeah, at least once a week, and that's because the thieves looking to steal your information, they're getting smarter. As our Clifton French found out, some are even getting into the pumps now with their own keys.
Every time you pay at the pump, you're putting your trust into these machines and the folks who run them. Security stickers give some people peace of mind, but it turns out thieves are able to install the credit card stealing devices using their own keys.
And a lot of these skimmers are Wi-Fi now, so I don't even have to go back to collect them back.
Take these 3, for example. Florida Highway Patrol arrested them with a skimmer and several fraudulent credit cards. Court documents show They also had 16 gas pump keys. Many older pumps have a universal key that opens them. Thieves are ordering those online. Some criminals take it a step further. There are reports, even in Hillsborough County, of crooks buying the keys straight from the gas station clerk.
These clerks make the low wages, and sometimes, $400 or $500 for a set of keys, can be very tempting, and that's what's happening.
Doesn't it need to be opened up and checked first?
And as we showed you last year, you can't always trust those security stickers either. When we approached this clerk about broken seals, he pulled out a roll of new stickers and put them on the pumps without opening them, meaning a skimmer could be inside. That sticker is just giving customers a false sense of security. Experts say the best thing to do is pay with cash when you can, and always keep an eye on your credit card statement.
What's interesting is now it's pretty much all Wi-Fi. So, and they install them actually inside the gas pump. So looking at it, you have no idea that there is a skimmer there, and basically they set up 100 yards or within Wi-Fi range, and whoever uses the gas pumps, they'll download all the information from the credit cards. I know I handled several cases on Snowden River Parkway at different gas stations where they actually had skimmers installed on the gas pumps. You can actually buy skimmers online. This is a skimmer that you can purchase on Amazon. And I just pulled this up a few days ago. For $105, you could purchase a skimmer. Along with that, you can purchase blank credit cards. So if you look down, it's multi-purpose. These cards can be used to store personal information for photo IDs, financial information for credit card use, or retailers who want to sell gift cards for their business. So basically what they'll do is download the credit card information that they've obtained on a computer, and then put the information on another card, and then they can go out and use the card. Unfortunately, it's that simple and that easy. Free Wi-Fi and hotspots. Pretty much most restaurants and bars and different places that you go, public places, have free Wi-Fi networks. Thieves love to target these because a lot of people automatically have their phone set up where they automatically attach to the free Wi-Fi. This video is from a gentleman who actually was a criminal and does trainings now on how to protect yourself.
Inside Terminal 5 at the Los Angeles International Airport, dozens of people are on their computers. Gregory Evans is a former hacker whose resume includes 2 years in federal prison.
We were doing almost $1 million, if not more, a week against some of the biggest corporations in the world.
We set up in a corner of the terminal so that Evans, who now owns a cybersecurity company, could show us just how vulnerable people are to hackers.
I will go and set up a fake Wi-Fi and watch everybody connect to it. And once they connect to it and they start surfing the internet, now what I'll do is just grab all their traffic.
We launched a fake network named LAX Free Wi-Fi. Within minutes, people started connecting to it. Evans then showed us how a hacker can record everything off a computer that joined our network by tracking what I was doing on my laptop.
So if they go to their bank, it'll grab all their banking information. If they go to their Facebook, it'll grab all that, their Twitter accounts. If they're writing love letters, I can grab all of that.
Or, Evans says even worse, if a hacker has enough time, spyware can be installed, which stays with the victim.
You get on the plane, you go to one country, I go to another. But everything that you do, as long as you have that computer, is going to be emailed back to me.
During our experiment, we stumbled across what appeared to be a real hacker at work. Along with our fake network, there was another one called Free Public Wi-Fi. Airport administrators told us T-Mobile is the only authorized Wi-Fi provider.
So you think that there could be a hacker here right now?
That's correct.
Catching and prosecuting a hacker, especially at an airport, is extremely difficult. E.J. Hilbert is a retired FBI agent who specialized in cybercrime.
It's virtually impossible to catch them. Law enforcement's aware of this, and there's always the next piece. You steal the cards, you steal the information, you got to use them somewhere. And that's when you start getting the real investigations going.
Experts say there are a few things.
Some of the safety tips that you need to keep in mind. You can get a virtual private network, and I know through most cell phone companies they offer that for free at or a reduced price, but it will minimize or block a lot of hackers trying to access your information. Again, don't automatically connect to Wi-Fi hotspots. Typically on your phone settings, you'll be able to automatically connect, or you can set it where you have to manually connect. Make sure it's set on manual. Confirm the network name. So say if you're in Starbucks and you want to use their Wi-Fi and you see several different Starbucks 1 Wi-Fi hotspot, Starbucks 2, it's possible a hacker is there that set up a Wi-Fi hotspot to mimic the legitimate one. So you would have to check with management to see specifically which one is the correct one. Make sure your firewall is turned on, and again, that's in your settings. And also antivirus software is up to date. Typically, you'll get a notice from your cell phone company that it's time to do quarterly or monthly updates. Just make sure everything is updated. And minimize accessing websites where you need your passwords. So if you're on a public Wi-Fi network, don't go to your bank that you use to where you have to put in log-on information or password. Again, if someone's monitoring it, they can access that information. So we're going to look at several different types of identity theft. This was a medical identity theft where someone steals your personal information to obtain medical services or equipment. Some of the little known facts is medical data is 20 to 50 times more valuable than financial data. And most of the time it ends up on the black web or dark web, and we'll discuss that later. 2021, 45 million individuals were affected by healthcare breaches, and that was up from 34 million in 2020. Unfortunately, 20% experienced misdiagnosis or mistreatment from information wrongly placed in your medical files. 65% of a medical ID theft victims cost them about almost $14,000 to get it resolved. And basically what they use it for is fraudulent billing and medical services. How do you know if your ID has been stolen? Typically you'll get a bill for medical services that you didn't receive, or you're told that you reached your maximum benefits, and you'll start receiving collection agency calls. And then basically unfamiliar medical collection notices on your credit report. So what do you do if you're a victim? Obtain copies of all your medical records. Get what's called an accounting of disclosures report. It's basically a medical, in essence, credit report that you can get once per year free of charge, but it lists all the treatments and everything related to your medical care in a database or in a specific document. You have to ask for corrections to your medical records. If you see something on there that shouldn't be there, especially treatment related, make sure it gets corrected. Again, 20% have experienced misdiagnosis based on fraudulent information in their medical records. With any type of ID, make sure you keep records and document all correspondence, who you spoke with, date and time, reason you spoke with them, and that creates a track record that you probably will need down the road. So the provider who made the mistake must correct it. So if a specific doctor made the mistake and put it in there, it's up to them to update it and have it removed from the accounting of disclosures report. And again, make a police report. And you can also file a report with the Federal Trade Commission. Here's a young lady that fell victim to this and almost destroyed her life.
Identity theft turned my life upside down. It nearly cost me custody of my children. In February of 2006, my driver's license was stolen from my car. Nothing could have prepared me for what was about to happen. 2 months later, in April of 2006, My driver's license was used by a methamphetamine user. She went to a hospital and gave birth to a baby that subsequently tested positive for drugs. Child Protective Services called me and they informed me that this baby that they believed I had had tested positive for methamphetamine, and they felt that my 4 children were in danger. This is how I learned that I was officially the victim of medical identity theft. It was completely devastating. I was angry, confused, frustrated, terrified, and it really left me not knowing who to trust or where I could go for help. I mean, I was really completely alone in this. But ultimately, I recognized that I just had to stay strong and fight to keep my kids with me. I had to go to court. I had to take a DNA test. I had to hire an attorney. My friends and family were questioned. My daughter was pulled out of school. Everybody knew that I was being investigated by Child Protective Services. It was humiliating. My biggest fear during this whole time was that my children would be taken away and that I'd have to work for months to get them back. It was completely devastating.
Scary that it could happen. Another form of ID theft is tax ID theft. Basically, they take your information and file fraudulent tax returns. I did a presentation several years ago in Ellicott City, and I had a couple that attended that it had happened to them twice. And the thieves had collected a total of $90,000 based on their fraudulent tax returns. So typically what they'll do is file early before January or mid-February. And then they'll set up a fraudulent account and have the money sent to that account or a prepaid debit card. And a lot of times once the information is used, it's sold to other thieves. So what do you do if you are a victim? Make a police report. The IRS has a specific ID theft affidavit form. You have to fill that out. It's form 14039. Fill that out and then send a copy of the police report and in the IRS form to the IRS. I think it's typically taking about 90 days to resolve tax ID theft cases. Again, keep good correspondence records. This is one of the biggest ones out there now that you really don't hear much about is child ID theft. Basically, they take your child's information and use it for fraudulent credit cards, houses, cars, whatever they want. Unfortunately, it's hard to detect because you don't think your newborn or your young child has a credit profile. Some of the things, some key finding is Social Security is a top compromised identifier. Unfortunately, a lot of times it occurs at home where they want to set up a BG&E account or different accounts and a parent's credit isn't bad, so they'll use their child's information. Again, since the child is young, it's a lot more difficult to detect and resolve than typical adult ID fraud. And children are targeted 35 times more often than adults.
Imagine a 5th grader who is already bankrupt or a 16-year-old in debt for houses and cars. Thieves have a new target, and we learned tonight that 1 in 10 American children is the victim of identity theft. 1 in 10. And as ABC's Pierre Thomas tells us, it can be years before parents realize it.
Olivia McNamara was starting her freshman year at Vanderbilt University, and like so many 18-year-olds, applying for her first credit card. That's when the nightmare started. Olivia's credit applications were rejected twice. Someone had stolen her identity when she was 9 years old. They had years to run up $1.5 million in debt.
I can't even describe it. It's just really shocking, and we just had no idea.
The thieves created more than 42 accounts, defaulting on all of them.
They took loans out on boats and houses and everything.
Olivia's still working to clear her credit. It may take her months, if not years, to start fresh. A new report estimates that a staggering 1 in 10 American children are victims with no clue it's happening. Criminals hack home computers looking for tax forms with the social security numbers of children. They've also stolen identities from hospitals, child welfare agencies, even schools.
We see children who have had this crime begin at as early as age, 5 months old, and then it goes on for years.
Thieves stole 11-year-old Brianna's social security number and ran up more than $132,000 in debt, buying a car and a house. Using 8-year-old Bradley's ID, crooks took out 2 student loans and got 5 credit cards. Total damage, $19,200.
The problem is large and growing. And part of the problem is it's generally undetected and undetectable.
Undetected because thieves use false names and addresses repeatedly, simply opening new accounts after they default. So what can parents do to protect their children? The most important thing, tell your children never to give out their social security number without your permission, and make sure you check your child's credit periodically, no matter how young.
Most people, unfortunately, don't think to check their child's credit report because they don't think they have one actually. But you can do that. And everything is basically tied to a social security number. To get into any school or any kind of government related agency or anything, you need a credit card, or to get, social security number to get any types of those services. Also, information is easily accessible online and just in general search engines. So whatever you want to search for, you can pretty much find online or a person specifically. One of the public ways that you can get information on Maryland residents is Maryland Judiciary Case Search. Basically, what this is a site managed by the state of Maryland, and every type of criminal information, civil, traffic, civil citation, any kind of court interaction is available and kept in this database and is available for anyone to access. So as you see, you can search by all cases, or if you're looking up a specific civil case and you have the person's name, you can look it up that way. Both circuit, district courts. So it's a wide variety of ways that you can actually access information. So basically, once you put information in, another screen will pop up. So this is the suspect that I charged with scamming an elderly man with the tree trimming scam several years ago. So I'm using him as an example. So once you put a person's name in, a screen will come up like this, and it basically gives the case number, name, date of birth, and just general information, the type of case it is. Once you click on the case number, another screen will pop up, and it gives all the information, the jurisdiction, the suspect, the defendant's name. If you look down, they actually give his full date of birth, 9/6 of 65, his name, his address, height, weight, all that information. If you look to the right, I was the arresting or complaining officer, has my information there, and also the charge and disposition information, and that's everything I charged him with. What's not showing on here is the disposition and the court ledger, but typically if you pull it up, all that will come up. If you've ever had a traffic ticket, that information is publicly accessible. So if you look, Mr. Richard J. Silverstein, and I just threw a name in the computer, and this is what popped up. Gives his name and address, doesn't give his full date of birth, but it's May of 1970. It's probably pretty easy to find what date. And to the right, again, is the arresting officer and tells you what traffic violation he was charged with. And from the vehicle description, the speed, the disposition, all that. So if you've ever had a ticket or any kind of civil interaction with the court, it's all easily accessible. If you've ever been divorced, that information's on there. So just know that anyone can access that. Another way they can access public information is if you own a residence or have real property in Maryland. So I'll use myself as an example. You search whatever county and you can use a street address. So I live on Morning Mist Lane, so the street name is Morning Mist, so I'll just put that, not a specific house number. And you click on it and it pulls up every person that lives on Morning Miss Lane with their name. So all you have to do is click on the name, and again, I'm using myself, and it brings up that information. The owner has my wife's information, the exact address. What's not shown here is they also include the last 3 purchases and how much the house sold for, and the previous owner. Again, that's public information. Anyone can easily access it. So if I want to target an area that has $1 million homes, all I have to do is get the street name, put it into the system, and it'll give me everyone that lives on that street. So data brokers, basically what they do is they have your publicly accessible information, and then they sell it to marketing companies or businesses or anyone who does targeted marketing. So for instance, if I want to know how many seniors are 70 and older in Ellicott City with a net worth of $500,000, I can pay companies to provide that information to me. Unfortunately, thieves can also do that because it's not limited to, verified businesses. So anyone can actually just go in and put whatever criteria they want in with whatever company, and they sell that information to them. As you see, TransUnion is one of the ones that sells that information, but it's a lot of different companies out there that do that. So just, be aware that your information is available, and this is all public information that they obtain to different companies or any individuals. So now we're going to talk about data breaches. Past few years, we've really gotten a lot of gotten a lot of news coverage because it's happening in an increased level. So basically, a data breach is an incident in which sensitive, protected, or confidential data has been viewed, stolen, or used by an individual unauthorized to do so. Some of the data breach facts is in 2021, we had 1,862 data breaches. Identity Theft Resource Center states 1,543 data breach incidents compromised data of over 150 million individuals. A lot of people, half the population in the U.S. Half of all data breaches globally to occur in the United States by 2023. 87% expose social security numbers. Again, that's one of those key identifiers that we need. The average sensitive data breach took 112 days to detect. So criminals had over 100 days to pretty much gather information and decide what to do with it before the company or business found out that they had been hacked. Pretty scary. This is probably what kind of kicked all this off, was the Target data breach many years ago, and they sent a letter out basically saying that your information was compromised. And I think they offered credit monitoring and different things like that. Here's some recent ones in 2021 with Colonial Pipeline. I don't know if you guys remember this, but they were held. It was a ransomware attack where they was going to shut down the system for, I think it was $5 million. The company suspended operations for about 6 days, which caused fuel shortages and price increases. The breach happened through a VPN where someone had a compromised password. So they had a password open to the VPN where the hackers got into it. Another one, this was Shiny Hunters. So they posted stolen databases from 10 companies, and basically they offered the information on the dark web for free. They weren't even trying to sell it. Some of the companies that were breached is Pixlar, Meet Mindful, Teespring, and it was 7 other companies. Some of the information that was given away for free was names, payment methods, billing addresses, email addresses, dates of birth. And in that one, 124 million records were exposed. T-Mobile, who I'm a member of T-Mobile, they were hacked and they found their information on the dark web. Again, name, date of birth, social security number, driver's license, and prospective T-Mobile customers, 40 million records compromised. So what happens after your information is stolen? Typically, the average citizen uses the surface web, which, we go to surf and go to different publicly accessible websites. But there is a part of the web that's considered what's called the dark web. And basically, it's a collection of different websites that uses anonymity tools like Tor and I2P to hide their IP addresses. So it's really hard for the government and investigative agencies to follow these companies or get the information. Some of the things that's sold on the dark web, you can pretty much buy anything: guns, drugs, range for a hitman. I mean, you name it. How much your information worth? Stolen credit card, typically $5 to $110, depending on the amount that's available on the card. Higher end cards can go for up to $400. Passports, and that's the scary part. You can actually buy a passport and get it on the dark web, $1,000 to $2,000. Online payment service login credentials, up to $200. A complete U.S. ID package, name, address, social security number, all identifying information is about $30. And medical records, it goes from $1 to up to $1,000 per medical record, depending on the information. Here's a couple ads that were actually on the dark web. The first one on the left is basically fake document service, fake passports, driver's licenses, all that. On the right, again, it's fake driver's licenses. And a lot of times they'll use Bitcoin as payment. Here are two that's related to the medical field. And this was 4,500 clinical and psychiatric patient records. And basically all their personal information was included in that, including the psychiatric reports. To the right of that is child records that's available for sale. Again, name of patient, date of birth, social security number, address, phone number, father's name, mother's name. This is all information that was sold on the dark web. And a lot of times the information compromised, that's where it ends up. For tax fraud, here's another couple ads that were there. W-2 forms in 2016, $7.99 only. It gives you the previous year, also adjusted gross income. Pretty scary. So some of the ways you discover ID theft is you receive calls from collection agencies, contact from your bank, existing changes on accounts. Denied a loan. Your credit is good and you go in to make a purchase and you're denied a loan and say, well, your credit score is in the 500s. And then you realize that you have all these fraudulent accounts on your credit report opened up. Again, arrested for a criminal offense you didn't commit. And incorrect information on your credit report. What do you do if it's stolen? You have to act immediately, report it to police, contact all the creditors where the information is entered fraudulently or tampered with. Notify the 3 credit bureaus and request a fraud alert on your credit report. And make sure, again, you keep detailed records. And you can file a complaint with the Federal Trade Commission. It's not always random, actually. I mean, it could be relatives, friends, hospitals, schools, any place that has access to your personal information. I remember years ago, you would go into your doctor's office and they would have the files in a big file cabinet. Now everything's digital, but back then it was, anyone could have access to those medical records. Know your credit. Each person is allowed to get 1 free credit report per year. What I suggest you do is get it staggered. It's 3 credit bureaus, so every 4 months you can get a different credit report. That way you can pretty much see specifically what's in your credit report. One of the main things, and probably the best thing you can do, is freeze your credit file. So basically, when you freeze your credit file, no one can open up any new credit in your name. The only drawback is you can't open up any new credit in your name. But there's a sort of way around that. So say if you're out looking for a car and you go to CarMax, you find the car that you want, you're going to have them finance it. They're going to run a credit report. They're not going to get the information back because your credit is frozen. What you have to do is find out which agency or which credit bureau that they use to look at your credit report. So say if it's Experian, you'll have a password or a 4-digit code that you can contact Experian. They will open up or make your credit report available and accessible. CarMax can review it, get whatever information they need, and then you can place the credit file, a credit freeze back on it. So again, it opens it up for a short period of time, and then you can replace it, the freeze back on your credit profile. The good thing, Maryland requires all credit agencies to allow you to freeze and unfreeze it for free. So you just have to contact the 3 credit bureaus, and there's a form that you fill out. I think you can do it online and freeze your credit. The good thing also is you can freeze your child's credit. So what I suggest, if whoever has a newborn, as soon as they get the Social Security number, it's freeze their credit report, and then that way no one can open up any credit until they till you as a parent decide to open it up, or they decide to file for a credit card or open their file up. Again, one of the best things you can do is have a credit freeze. Again, it's free and it's pretty simple. It minimizes, nothing's 100%, but the good thing is they cannot open up any new credit in your name. And it's not if, but when. I remember I was doing a presentation in Laurel, and it was on identity theft, and doing one of the videos, I happened to check my phone, and I gotten an email from Capital One that someone had just used my credit card at a Walmart in Ellicott City. I do this for a living, and even, I'm not 100% safe. Your information is out there, unfortunately. And if you use credit cards, or, you go to restaurants, and typically what we do is give our credit card to the waiter or waitress. They take it for a few minutes and then come back and bring the credit card. While they have it, they could have a skimmer getting all the information off the credit card, and you would have no idea. That happened actually over at Champs in the when it was over at the Columbia Mall, unfortunately. So please consider a credit freeze. Thank you, and I hope you guys got some information out of it. I know it was a lot, and I will have this presentation available. If you want to email me, I can get it over to you. So Jeff, I can take some questions now.
Well, thank you very much, Andre. A lot of really interesting and important information. I'm going to have to watch the video on this one. I found the information, all of it, very relevant, but the part about, since I've got a 15-year-old and a 12-year-old, the part about children's identities being stolen, so surprising. I really had never thought about that before, especially coming from a banking background. I was with the bank for 13 years, and it never would have occurred to me. I would have thought that they would have had to have had more than a social security number in order to establish credit for somebody. So I never would have thought about that. So that is really interesting. And I'm going to check my kids' credit reports when I get home today. So thank you for that information. Lots of great stuff.
Sure.
Wow.
I hate to use a lot of videos, but I think it helps to kind of understand from the victim's point of view.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Real life situations. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it looks like we do have some questions that are pouring in here. Let's see here. Let me get to the top here. Bear with me just 1 second.
Sure.
Okay, so first question, is LastPass the best, perhaps easiest program to use for password protection? Are there better ones? Have you heard of LastPass?
I've heard of it, and from everything I've heard, it's pretty good. I don't specifically have a password program that I use, but yeah, I mean that's I think it's one of the better ranked ones. Yes.
Yeah, I'll just say about LastPass, that has come very highly recommended from our IT company that we partner with here at Elville and Associates. So that's something that has been recommended to us here at the firm. How can we find out if our name is connected with any arrest warrants?
There's private companies where they will do a background check for you, so you can check any private detective agency, or even it's funny, you can even Google your name to see if it comes up that you've been arrested. But probably the best way is contact a PI agency and see if they can just do a background check on you throughout the United States to see if your name comes up as being arrested.
Okay. I've been receiving a huge number of calls supposedly from medical assistants seeking to sign me up for services or treatments to be covered by Medicare. Any way to prevent these? I keep blocking the number on my phone, my iPhone, but they keep coming using different fake numbers that show up on my screen.
Unfortunately, there's no real way to block them, and I think I talked about in the last presentation. They constantly change their numbers. So again, you can block this number, and the next day they'll have a different number that they call you from. And again, they're targeting you because they probably got your information from some of these data brokers where they just purchased it, and they know your age, your income, the area you live in, a lot of different things about you. So what they'll do is keep hammering and hammering, and hopefully eventually, what they're hoping is that you just basically give up and fall victim to them. But yeah, just again, it boils down to phone calls. Don't give any information over the phone to anybody trying to sell anything, especially any kind of medical equipment, because you have no idea if it's legitimate or what.
Okay, this is a good question. I was wondering the same thing. Is there any legitimate use for a skimmer? If not, why can Amazon sell them?
You can actually use skimmers again for business related cards, not for credit cards, but they're all basically the same. All the data that you can put on it may be different, but the card is specifically used for a wide variety of different things. Quite frankly, I have no idea why Amazon or eBay or any of these other companies offer these products for sale. I mean, literally, I pulled those up, a couple days ago, and anybody can go online and do it and buy blank credit cards.
Suggestion, I would suggest forwarding any phishing or spoofing emails to the company's fraud email address, such as spoof@paypal.com, stop-spoofing@amazon.com, phishing@mtbank.com, etc., which is what we do here at the firm. And I'm sure that if you work for a company, you're suggested to do something similar if you see a phishing email. So thank you for that suggestion.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it's so many different. I mean, I could present on a full day on just identity theft. So it's a lot of different variables out there and a lot of different things you can protect yourself with. It's just kind of hard to condense it into an hour.
Yeah. So where do we get accounting disclosure? Where do we get the accounting disclosure report? A particular site, my insurance company, etc.?
Your insurance company. Several years ago, I remember getting a few in the mail once a year, and I don't think I've gotten any recently. But you can contact your medical care provider, and they should be able to provide that to you.
Okay. How can I protect my adult disabled siblings? Freeze their credit report with the 3 bureaus?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. I may have missed it, but is there a way to monitor the dark web to see if your own information is being trafficked?
So there's several credit monitoring agencies out there that you can use. Obviously, there's a fee to it. I was part of one for a while, and I remember getting a couple emails saying that my information was potentially available on the dark web. Now, once you get that information, I mean, it's not really much that you can do with it because you don't know what particular site it's on or anything like that. So the best thing you can do is protect yourself on the back end with the credit freezes and monitoring and different things like that. Also, your credit statements each month, go line by line and just make sure that you made those transactions. Because a lot of times they'll have access to a card and they won't run it up, but they'll just use it for, a few different transactions. But a lot of times they just want to keep the card active. So if you have a card and instead of wiping it out, if I can keep it active for, a year or so, my duplicate card, then, if I hit it for $50 a month or $100 a month and you don't shut it down, then that's great because I have ongoing cards that I can use.
Next question. There are a lot of, quote, fun games on Facebook about your, for example, leprechaun name, using your mom's maiden name and the street address you grew up on, for example. These games can be used to answer security questions on highly secure sites like bank accounts.
Yes.
Statement. And a question, or is it LastPass? Yes, it is called LastPass. That is the name of the program. And we're getting questions about your email address, Andre. Could you please provide that to our attendees?
Sure, it is. Hold on.
And I will send that out in my follow-up email that I'll provide either later this afternoon or very first thing tomorrow morning.
Sure, it's CFEJAE2021@gmail.com. And you can also reach me through my website. Again, it's www.elderjusticeandeducation.org.
Okay. Couple more here. I get a lot of spam. Is deleting them without opening sufficient to eliminate risk?
That's what I do. Definitely, you don't want to open them.
Yeah.
Just delete them, or like the other attendee said, forward them to whatever agency they're claiming to be with.
And it looks like our last question for now. Can you get Medicare to issue you a new number if your card is stolen?
It's my understanding Medicare was going away from Social Security numbers, so I think they've gotten completely away from that. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm not sure if they will issue you a new number. That's something I would check with Medicare about. My gut feeling is maybe no, because that number may be specific to you, and if it's stolen, they may just issue another card with that number. But again, it goes into monitoring, everything related to Medicare and Medicare coverage and treatments and everything.
Okay. Well, it looks like those are all of our questions. Thank you for the great questions. And Andre, thank you again for your little mini series here on identity theft and frauds and scams. It's been just a pleasure, very eye-opening, lots of great information. I know we'd love to have you back down the road, perhaps in person here at our office. I'm not sure how we'll hold all the attendees, but that's something we will address when the time comes. As it relates to our webinar series, but before that, I will send out Andre's email address and his website again. I'll send out the video, which will include the Q&A session that we've had here at the end. We had a couple questions about that. As it relates to our webinar series, we have a very busy April coming up, but Wednesday, March 30th, we have our estate planning and elder law essentials, which is always a popular topic. Wednesday, April 6th, guardianship and the alternatives, what parents, family members, and advisors need to know. And then on Tuesday, the 12th of April, Medicare basics, what you need to know. We have Mark Trent, who is a Medicare supplements expert. He was the speaker at our 2017 and 2018 client event. He is a wealth of information and a really funny guy. You will learn a lot and probably laugh a lot too. That's one you probably will not want to miss. And then a number of other ones coming down the road in April. Check out our calendar of events on our website. So we'll check to see if we have any other questions here before we leave. Number of thank yous, which are well deserved. And Andre, we appreciate your time and all you do for the communities that you serve. And we look forward to working with you again down the road. So
I appreciate you guys having me, Steve, and I mean, Jeff, and you know, to all the attendees today, please feel free to reach out to me. I love doing presentations. I love educating people. Hopefully I can do a few more in person. But I'm available evenings. I've done weekends, whatever works for the community that I'm presenting to, I'm willing to do. So again, you know, I appreciate your support. I'm really finally getting going. So any support is really, really appreciated.
Yeah, thank you, Andre. And certainly, of course, use Andre as a resource. He is there for the community, which we also very much appreciate. Thank you to our attendees, and we look forward to hosting you again soon. Have a great day, everybody. Thanks.